Hey guys, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. Here we have a 2020, December 2020 built 1GD-FTV, which has the remap. Let's check it out, but first a little bit of background information. Hey guys, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna go and drive the new Prado with the what people call a new engine. It's not a new engine, it's just had a few little changes. Still a 2755cc, undersized for the size of the vehicle, but we're going to give you a honest evaluation. So we've done a video, 1KZ versus 1GR versus 1G, all the engines, right? So you can check that out. That talks about a bit about all the engines. You know, they're all good engines, they've all got their pitfalls. We're very disappointed in the 2019 1GD compared to a 1KD. We believe the 1KD has got a bit more get up and go and definitely more torquey, holds speed better on hills, better for towing, and the transmission shifts work a lot better than the 6-speed and the 1GD. So they tell me there's more power again and more torque, which was a lie when they said there was more power in the 1GD. Even though it was on paper, the right foot in the seat of the pants doesn't tell us that. So let's see what happens this time with the remap, because that's what it is. Might be a different turbo and a bit of a remap. It might have more power and torque, or it might not. So we're going to go suss it out, see what the go is, and we'll let you know. And if all the videos come out according to plan, you know, there'll be a video that you should watch before this, and if you haven't, watch it now. It's going to be called 1KD versus 1GD, something like that, or 1KD-FTV versus 1GD-FTV. And it's not a big test, this versus that. You know, a lot of people have got both, and whatever the case may be, and if you haven't had one, you don't know what you're talking about with the other. But guess what? We've got both, and we've kind of got multiple because we drive them every day. Okay, so we're going to give you the facts on what it is. Nobody's paying me to tell you which one's better than the other. I'm not worried about devaluing the value of what we own. We own both. So if I tell you one's better than the other, it's how it is. There's no reason to tell you anything different than what it is. Okay, so let's hope that this undersized engine, somehow they've remapped it, that it can still run clean. You know, the best mapping is always the genuine Toyota manufacturer's mapping. You know, they're going to do it best with a balance of power and torque and environment and longevity, reliability. Although, you know, having a small engine put out more power, it can't last as long as having it put out a bit less power and a bit less torque. You know, the more power and torque, it's working harder. More pressure on those little big end bearings or whatever it might be in that engine. Whatever's going to give up, we won't know for years to come. So I'm not saying to go buy a 1GD. I always say stick with a 1KD, last of the best. Well, for now. I've mentioned in a few videos the 1GD, it just doesn't seem to have, it's not bad on the power side, and down at lower speeds, 60, 80, 90 k's, that sort of thing. It's the 100 plus, 100, 110 onwards. It's really terrible for maintaining speeds on the slightest undulations. Even back to fourth, you can feel in fourth with the converter lock, it just hasn't got the pull that the 1KD's got back in fourth. And I'll have you know, even though the 1KD is a 5-speed and the 1GD is a 6-speed, 1, 2, 3, 4, the gearing ratio 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's about the same. So 6th is a waste of time anyway. But look, really looking forward to see what happens driving this 1GD. Right, here we are. Go and see if they've got a Toyota Prado to drive, eh? Okay, so we're in a brand new, almost brand new 1GD-FTV. It's got 5,800 k's on the clock, so it's had a bit of time to loosen up. We're going to go and hit the roads and give it a good test out, and I'll come back to you with my opinion on if there's much difference to the 2019, only 18 months old. Okay, so we've been driving the vehicle around town and on some highways to give it a really fair test. One of our biggest issues was the transmission software, and we want to give you a genuine feedback. That's why I'm not talking to you while I'm driving. Just having a bit of a look around, comparing to the earlier 1GD and the turbo setup. So what I'm doing, I'm driving the vehicle so I can concentrate. It's not one of these videos where they do a review, they're getting paid for it and they look cool driving around and talking to you while they're driving. I'm going to drive the vehicle. I'm really going to get to know the vehicle, and I'm going to give you a report at the end. So stay tuned. Just having a bit of a look around under the bonnet and showing you. Let me just say, so far, it's a big improvement. Okay, it's a big improvement. Okay, but we need to go drive it a bit more and see a few changes. They've done a few things here, a few improvements. Okay, so we're going to go drive some more, and I'll come back to you. Well, it is definitely an improvement in certain ways, but in other ways it's not much different, which is a little bit disappointing, but also impressive. So it's a bit of a mixed, but we'll come back. Anyway, so we're back at base now, and I'm going to give you, you're not going to get a better, more accurate, unpaid review from a Prado technician that owns different Prados, drives different Prados every day. So this will be the most simple but informative, wise and sensible bit of feedback on this vehicle. Now, so you got the Prado book here. Let's have a look at the first page here, right? Oh, what a feeling. Can I tell you what the feeling is? So in late 2019, we purchased the GX. Now in early 21, to purchase the GX from the same dealer with the same special discount, it's $5,000 dearer. Now, COVID, you know, so we're told that, you know, we don't do the, Toyota Motor Corporation of Australia, they do the pricing, that sort of thing, right? The margin's less and all that. So what you're paying for, $5,000 more, right? So all the Prados have gone up. So even the GXL, whatever the case may be. Oh, what a feeling. The feeling's a little bit ripped off, and I think what you're paying for is you're paying for the remap. So instead of the aftermarket guy you go to, you're paying for the remap with Toyota. You're paying for the Apple CarPlay to Apple. Again, you know, making all these big companies even richer. And what else are you paying for? You're paying for all the problems, okay? So please understand, you know, although it's a small percentage problem, I'm not out to promote DPF problems, whether they are or they aren't, or how big they are. You'd have to have the statistics on that, and I don't. I hear from a lot of people about DPF problems and that sort of thing, and I believe that it's the way the vehicles are driven. So I'll still tell you, you don't want to own a diesel with a DPF if you're going to do normal driving around, shorter trips, you know, stop-start driving, you know, going to the shops and back, school and back, work and back, short trips. It's not ideal for the DPF. So in my opinion, just because they've remapped the engine doesn't mean it stopped the timing guides wearing through and the major engine repairs that need to be done. You know, that may be a small problem. Again, I don't have statistics on it. I just know that it happens. I have that information from people. I don't know how many it happens to. These are the sort of things that don't happen on 1KDs. All these problems early on, you know, in the Fortuners, the Hiluxes, the Prados with the timing chains and the DPFs, right? So, oh, what a feeling. I think you're actually, the extra $5,000 on these vehicles in the last 18 months, there's a bit of a COVID tax because of the shortage, so they penalise you for that. But I think a lot of it is extra money collection by them to pay for these problems. There's no such thing as anything for free. Oh, you want a 5-7 year warranty? You're paying for it. You want Apple CarPlay? You're paying for it. You want a lifetime warranty on the DPF? You're paying for it. You want to have a class action against Toyota? You're paying for it. I suppose we better move on from oh, what a feeling, and let you know what we thought about the new Prado. Go anywhere in style, they reckon. Well, it's not that much style, but look, I'm going to try and explain it to you a few different ways, the performance of the vehicle. On one hand, I was really impressed. It's chalk and cheese. On the other hand, I'm going, hang on, it's just like the other one. Now, let me explain. Okay, so for example, when you're driving slowly and you move off the mark and you're driving how you should normally drive, and particularly how you should normally drive a diesel, it's not a revving engine. It's not something that you take out to the red line, 4, 5, 6 grand. It's kind of a 2000 rev engine, okay? You know, 2000 revs, you know, from 1500 to 2.5, maybe 3 type thing. So when you're driving around slow and normal and off the mark, it feels just like the other 1GD-FTV we drive a lot, you know, 45,000 Ks worth. It feels just like it, exactly like it. So that is the one disappointing side, okay? Now, let me go the other way for a minute. But when you're driving and you're accelerating, once it gets to the 2,500, 3,000 revs, you can, if you've got your foot into it a bit, you can feel it's got a bit more, okay? So if you're into driving things hard and want it like that and you get around quick, you can feel it's got a bit more top end, we'll call it, because it's really from the 2,500 revs mark, you know, minimum a little bit there, more as you get to 2.7, 2.8, you've got a bit more go, but not much. And of course, as soon as it starts revving, it loses it anyway, because it's a diesel, right? It's not a revving engine. Okay. So there's your negative, not much difference, and your positive, there's the extra power. Now let's go for a negative again. If I take off from a standing, I'm stopped still, it's in drive, and I floor it 0 to 100, it feels just like the old one. So it's like, well, hang on, what's going on here, you know? So it feels exactly the same. So there's not that much more performance there that you'd notice a difference. And I don't regularly do that in either of the vehicles, but I've done it and I know what it feels like. And to me, seat of the pants, right foot feeling, it's got no difference, virtually no difference, nothing that I can tell from that test, okay? So we're going to sort of talk about 4 specifics, right? And that's the third. The fourth main one is where I was really impressed, and I'm not going to underestimate and unsell you a new Prado, okay? I wouldn't go and buy a new Prado. I think they're too expensive. I might buy one just to be able to do more R&D, that sort of thing. But if you want to buy one. It's definitely an improvement, but you just got to watch those DPFs, the timing issues and whatever. I still think the 1KD, give it a lot of credit. So I wouldn't change from it yet. I've also heard from someone else, this is a bit off topic, about a V6 diesel and a Prado. I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is what I think, we'll leave it till the end actually, what engine's going to come in the 300 series and what's going to come in the Prado. I've been trying to gather some information. Let's talk about that in a minute. So the fourth comparison was, when you're on the highway at speed, hang on, before we even get to the highway, when you're in the 60, 70, 80, 90k zones, and you're in 4th gear, and you accelerate, it holds converter lock, and the old one holds it really well in 4th at these speeds as well, but this one holds it even better. It holds converter lock in 4th and it pulls. It really accelerates. It's got the torque. You can feel it's a torquey engine, okay? When you're into 5th, from even about 90k's, get it locked in 5th manually and accelerate. It accelerates, it pulls. It doesn't just unlock and rev like the older one, okay? So it's a definite improvement on it's not so much on the engine, but the transmission software allows you to get the torque from the engine through the transmission to the wheels and get the bloody thing accelerating without revving, using the torque of the diesel instead of making it like a revving 4-cylinder petrol, which is a bit like how the old one is, right? So that is the most part that I was really impressed. So for the highway runs, for the people doing the 90, 100, 110, or you're in Northern Territory, 120, 130, big improvement for speeds like that, okay? Even when I locked it in 6th gear and I accelerated and I went, wow, this, you know, in the older one, in our 1GD, 2000, late 19, right? September manufacture. In 6th, you touch the accelerator and it'll unlock, okay? So massive improvement on the transmission software. I'm really impressed with that. Now, is it worth $5,000 more? That's the problem, see? $5,000 more for what? For a remap or a little bit of software change. You know, they've made some changes, but $5,000, you know, I'm sure we're paying for the DPF class action. Anyway, so if you want to be part of that, go buy one. If you don't, then you stick with your 1KD or your 1GR-V6 or whatever the case may be for now, okay? Give it a bit more time. These engines have only been out for 4 or 5 years. If you want a nice vehicle to look nice parked in the driveway, a Prado is probably not the one. They look okay, but I wouldn't say they're the best looking car out there. You know what I mean? Let's quickly just talk about what we think other engines that may be coming. We've heard, this is the problem, right? Toyota, they're in Japan. They make the cars. They're the manufacturer. And there's lots of different cars and engines, and different things go to different countries. I've said it before. It's up to Toyota Motor Corporation Australia which engine and vehicles they're going to have here and have available. So it doesn't matter what Toyota make. It doesn't matter what they got in the States or what they got in any other country. It's not necessarily what we're going to get here. I've heard whispers of V6 diesels in the Prado. Okay, cool. Probably might not happen here. I've heard of, originally I was hearing it was going to be a V6 petrol twin turbo hybrid sorts of things in the 300 series, right? That's cool. And they may make that. They may even be making it. It may have even been sold in other countries. Doesn't mean we're getting it here. What I'm currently hearing is there's going to be a V6 diesel in the 300 series. So if that's the truth, all the people that went and got the last of the 200 series and they all rushed in and paid top dollar and they're waiting at the gate for people to drive out in them to give them even more money, drug money, we're talking drug money. Obviously there's some people with too much money, that's awesome, right? Good on you. And maybe give some to some charities or something like that, because it's just crazy. People driving out in Saharas that paid 120, 130 grand and people standing there waiting to pay 160 for it. It's just bizarre. Anyway, what engine's going to come in these vehicles, you don't know till it gets here, but I'm fairly confident the 300 series is what it's going to be called, and it'll have a V6 diesel, okay? There might be a petrol as well, but it's more likely looking like a V6 diesel, and I think that's where people are probably confused about what engine's going to go into the Prado. Why would they put a V6 diesel in a Prado and in the 300? It doesn't make sense. Everyone's going to buy the Prado. They're all going to be dearer. Okay, I think the Prado stuck with a little it's still a 2755cc. I said that at the start. It's still a 2755cc. The engine's small and undersized. By remapping it, putting different turbos and remapping it, you're making more power and torque out of the same engine, which puts all the engine components under pressure. It can't be as reliable. It can't last as long, longevity. Okay, it just, the two don't come together. Now, that doesn't mean it's bad. It could last a bloody long time. And of course, they improve material quality, technology, do you know what I mean, efficiency, all these sorts of things. So it could end up being really good. Time will tell. I always say sit tight, wait a little bit for now, watch and see. Obviously, you know, if you need a Prado, I always say, you know, the last of the best up to 2015, they're all good. It's just a matter of the 14, 15 are really the last of the best. And if I had my time again, back in 2019, I would have gone and looked harder for a GX. I like the GX because there's a lot more space in the back. You don't need the weight of the seats. You don't need it's not just the seats that you can take out, it's the trims, the size of the trims. They take up space. You're paying for things most people are going to rip off, like side steps, most people put heavy duty. Fog lights, most people rip it off and put a bull bar. There's no roof rails. Most people take it off and put a roller tighten or whatever they put on there. The only thing in the vehicle, I think you might get a locker, but you don't need a locker. You've got traction control. It does the job on a touring vehicle. Unless you're a hardcore full drive that must have a locker, then you're probably buying the wrong vehicle. Do you really want to take that bush and on the hardest tracks and, you know, damage the sills and rip the rear bar off? But look, each to your own, right? It's up to you guys. I just wanted to give you an honest review. They're the 4 aspects, right? Off the mark, well, a bit like, you know, just a bit like the other one, right? But once you get it to the higher, into the nearly 3,000 revs, you start to feel a bit more there, okay? If you take off 0 to 100 racing, it feels much like the old one. But once you're on the highway, you can feel that. I think it's all, the feeling is all produced by the transmission software is remapped also, and it's holding lock better, and you can really feel the torque through the vehicle and the acceleration for that reason. So it's much more really like a diesel should be. So the way they've done that's really impressive. I don't know that the engine's really got that much more power. In conclusion, I would say the 1GD 2019, even though on paper it's meant to have a few more kilowatts of power and about 40 newton meters more torque, it's got less. The last Hilux I owned was new in 2011 Hilux. From memory, it had 126 kilowatts of power, one less than the 1KD in the Prado, and it had 350 odd newton meters of torque, which the Prado has 410, so 50 newton meters less. And I remember also towing that vehicle, and I remember using that vehicle. I must say the 1GD, in my opinion, has got less torque than that Hilux had that was about 350. So in my opinion, seat of the pants feeling, I think the torque of the 1GD is more around the 320 to 340 or 50 mark maximum. If the 1KD is 410, that feels about right. This new engine, they're saying it's 500. I'd say that's a load of rubbish as well, but I'd say it's more than 410. You know, seat of the pants, right foot feeling, my description would be maybe it's 410, maybe it's, 420, 430, a little bit more on the torque side. The power, it's certainly a rever, okay? You've got hydraulic lifters and stuff like that, just like our 2019. If you floor it, they rev, no problem there. And that's where the 0 to 100, just revving out in each gear, is much the same, because it takes off the same sluggish way, it gets going the same way. Of course, the new one's probably got a little bit more, but I'm just trying to describe the drive feels exactly the same when you do that. It feels exactly the same when you drive up to 2,500 revs. The only time you notice the difference is you're pushing it a bit hard. You've got that little bit more from, let's say, 2,800 revs up, and not much, just a little bit. We're talking probably 10 or 20% more, probably more like 10 more go. And like I said, it's the highway holding speeds, and because it's putting that torque through the, I'm repeating myself, but I want to be really clear with this review and the explanation of that extra power and torque. It's more so probably the software allowing it to hold and go through the driveline to the wheels and get the job done, rather than just dropping a gear, slipping the torque converter and revving and nothing happened. So overall, for highway drivers, I'd be impressed, but if you're normal around town, most of your driving, remember, at least 99% is usually all your daily going to work, taking the kids to school, going to the shops and running around. It's probably not going to make much difference. But if you're towing a caravan, if you're doing towing and touring, then I think it's definitely an improvement, and it's a possibility. It should be looked at. I wouldn't be moving from a 1KD, but if you're looking at buying a Prado, maybe it's an option. But just remember, it's an expensive option. Remember the feeling on the other page here, right? And the other thing I'd say is, so yeah, it's got a beauty never looks so tough. It doesn't really look tough to me anyway. But you know, I'm talking a bit. I just wanted to give you all the feedback. Now inside the vehicle, I think the GX is value for money, and I think they figured it out and people are onto it, because they were saving a lot of money. They were saving about, I think you were saving about at least maybe 10 grand, 12 grand, not that many years ago, by buying a GX. And you still got carpet and you still got nice seats and everything was nice. And from about 2013 or 14, you got the same size wheels and tyres and everything. You didn't even have to go and change from those smaller wheels, which was really good. Inside the vehicle, let's look at the interior while we're talking. Right, if you have a look here, compared to our GX, right, we sort of said, well, we prefer, in the GX is the black trim around here. We sort of, oh, what's all this, you know, silver to get scratched. And what we find on the console down here, the sun reflects off it and it reflects into your eyes. This needs to be black or grey or something. The silver down there is terrible. Not only does it reflect the sun in your eyes, it gets scratched easily, right? And that's what's going to happen up here. Now in our GX, it's got that nice black trim there. It's got the black here is awesome. The only place, it's got silver up here, but the black around here. You haven't got climate control in the GX, but did you ever think about this? In a car that's got climate control, it's fake climate control, because when it's cold, if you say, what's a perfect, let's say, what's a perfect office temperature that says 21 degrees? I know most people are going to say that's a bit cold, so let's just agree on 23. How's that, girls? All right, so 23, not many girls are listening or watching, especially this long, only the wise, sensible ones. But let's say 23 degrees is the perfect temperature cruising along in the vehicle. You set it on 23, I guarantee you 90% at least people are going to agree with this statement, and that is, on a hot day, 23 is not cool enough, and you want to just go 22, 21, 20 and get it really cool because you're making adjustments. And then in winter, 23 is not warm enough. You're going up to like 25, 26, 27. So it's not true climate control. Otherwise, you just set it on 23 and that's it. So you're constantly making adjustments going up and down. And the problem with the GXL quite often is things automatically changing, you know, recirculate, whatever the case may be. What's really good about the GX, it's still really nice, neat push button stuff, but what you do, what it says is what it is. It doesn't give you a temperature. It's got the hotter, colder. You just go hotter, colder, and it's beautiful. You're feeling a bit cool. You press the up arrow, you're feeling a bit warm. So you don't need to look at the temperature because it's rubbish anyway. It's not right. It's really simple. The GX. What else is in there? The GXL's got leather there, so as soon as you start putting your rough hands on that, it starts getting wear and tear on it. Not good. You're better off with a GX. The GXL's got a leather wrapped steering wheel. Same again, very nice. But I'll tell you what, I like the GX. I like the tough poly plastic, whatever it is. It's just, it feels nice, it's grippy. You can have your rough hands and it doesn't put the wear and tear on it like it does on the leather. So think about that at 80,000 Ks, whether you want all that wear starting to come off, which happens, you know. And what else? The seat trims are a bit different. Who cares? A lot of people comment in our GX going, oh, I like this material. Well, that's what you get for saving some money. What else do you get in the vehicle? You know, I can't see anything else on the dash. Interior of the vehicle, they're the things that matter. Just add your side steps on if you want them. Get your heavy duty ones. Get your bull bar if you want or not. you can't use fog lights anyway. It's against the law to use the bloody fog lights, the ones that are in the bumper bar. You're not allowed to use them anyway. So what's the point of having those, right? So, and what else can I say? In the rear, you're going to have so much more space in the GX. So the GX is awesome value for money, but it's still $5,000 dearer. So beware of that. I've talked long enough. I hope I've painted a really awesome picture. I've got nobody's paying me, whatever. I'm thinking about whether I actually want to purchase one, because you don't get to know a vehicle better than owning it. And when we own it and drive it, I can provide the information for people so that help you make a decision on what you should do. And I'd really love it if there was a little bit bigger engine came out in the Prado, but to be quite honest, I don't know. I can't see it happening. I feel like the 1GD is only just settled in with this remap and the other turbo, and I think it's going to be around for years, but I wouldn't know. Wait and see what comes out in the 300 series. I think there's got to be another Prado coming sooner or later. It'll be interesting to see what the 300 is. That'll be expensive. And sit tight. Stop buying too many Toyotas new, because they're just capitalising on it anyway. There's extra taxes there. You're paying for the DPFs. Do what you want. It's just my advice. What would I know? Thanks for watching, guys. If you like that and it was helpful to help you understand the difference between the older 1GD and the newer one, the older one's probably going to last longer because it's not as highly strung. Get my drift? Right? So if you want it long term, go for the older one. You don't want the one that's putting out more power, more torque. You buy someone's second-hand one with 100, 200,000 Ks, it's done a lot of towing. It could be, you know, who knows what's about to happen with it. We don't know. We haven't been there yet. We know what's going to happen with a 1KD at 300,000 Ks. Nothing. They tow, they haul, they go, and eventually 1 in 1,000 or less, whatever it is, might crack a piston. But as we've said before, with those, there's always a reason. If the injector maintenance is done, if the chips and tunes aren't there, generally 99.999, I don't know how many nines exactly, I don't have a number on it, but very few cracked pistons come through that there's not a reason for. There was one actually a couple of months ago that we actually haven't had a fuel test on, but every other single Prado or Hilux has had a cracked piston that we've followed up on. Chips, tunes, remaps, don't do it. Old flogged injectors, don't do it. Careful who you let work on it. Aftermarket modifications, this, that and the other. There's always a reason. These are small diesel engines, right? They're small, okay? They're maxed out. This one is even more maxed out than before. Look at those numbers, 500 Newton meters, right? 500 out of a 2.8 litre, you know? Anyway, I don't know if it's 500 or not, but that's what's on paper. I've talked enough. What else is in this book? Let's just have a look. Let's have a look while you're giving us a thumbs up. Comfort to master every situation. Psh, whatever. Now, oh, look at that. Go and get rough. You know, trying to promote it. Look, go and get rough with the Grand Trek tyres on. Yeah, that works all right, actually. But, you know, safety sense and all this, all the safety stuff. Beep, 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 beep. All the technology to annoy you, and as soon as it's out of warranty, probably could let you down. Just keep that in mind, right? The more technology you got, once it's out of warranty, can get expensive to, there you go, there it is, there's the GX. Notice they put the GX in blue, the most yuck colour, because they want you to buy the GXL, okay? Exterior styling, what's the difference? Wheels, tyres the same, everything's the same. Tell you what's different about the car, let's include this in the video as well. Difference between a GX and a GXL. See the roof rails? Not on this one. See the handles and the mirrors painted? Not the handles and the mirrors. So if you pick a charcoal colour, see the grille, it's got silver and stuff in it, not the GX, right? So you pick charcoal, and guess what? It all blends in, it looks beautiful, it's great for off-road, and you just save yourself about 7 grand, right? 5, 7 grand, depends what it is, whatever, you know, right? It's going to be a build, mate. They're not going to have GXs in stock. People buy GXLs. It's kind of like they sell you the GXL. It's what they want to see. It's what everyone buys. Oh, you know, they'll tell you resale value. Only resale value is on good until people wake up and realise they've only got 5 people. It's a 4-wheel drive. If you're touring, you need the space in the back. You don't need to take 7 people. If you're a people mover, buy a Tarago or whatever it is they've got these days for moving people around. The difference, the headlights are different, the trims are different. You can see that's got fog lights, this one hasn't. Haven't missed those at all either. No side steps here on this one. People that buy GXLs that put heavy duty side steps, just grab a set of theirs and chuck it on yours, or put your heavy duty ones on. right? They're the main differences. Oh, privacy tint, right? Which you're going to get the front windows done anyway. So for not much more, you're just going to get the whole car done, because this doesn't have a film on it. So if someone smashes it, the glass falls in, whatever. Better security on windows that are tinted, because the film is stuck on the inside of the window. So if someone breaks a window, they then need to spend time to smash it out. And if they reach in, they could slice their arm open, which is good for slowing them down. And a bit of blood to for, you know, if there's any police happen to be handy anymore ever. Look, seeing as I'm waffling on so much here and we've made it a long video, one other thing, right? How is it the Australian government and the Reserve Bank says that there's no inflation, and interest rates are going to stay on hold for at least 3 years till 2024. They've made that statement. Hang on a minute. I've been looking at properties selling. In the last 12, 18 months, they've gone up around 10 to 20%, depending what property. Vehicles have gone up about 10 to 20% as well. And everything related, everyone's been shopping and it's just pushed price up because of the shortage. Everything has gone up, but they're saying there's no inflation. How does that work out? That's something for you to think about and try and work out and ask that question of the Australian government, because I'll tell you right now, inflation is out of control, and with interest rates at what they are, it is going to stay that way, and we're going to get into more problems from that. So just be careful spending your big chunks of money on new Prados. You can spend a lot of money on repairs and maintenance and upgrades. You know, you can spend 70 grand here, right? And then go and spend another 30. You can go buy a nice one for 40 or 50 grand. Half the mod's already done. I'm out of here. Bada bing, what am I going to do? Stay tuned, turn the bell on. You'll see if we buy another Prado or not when it turns up. Guess what? There'll be a really good highway kilometre 2019 GX for sale. It can come stock standard or fully decked out for touring. Bada bing, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. See ya.